There we go. KP, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Derek. So good to see you. How you doing?
Doing it good as well, my friend, here on a snowy Friday here in Minnesota.
That's good. How is the weather treating you?
Well, we're getting through it. This is usually a pretty challenging time of year and in this part of the country when it comes to weather. So this is where it starts getting really interesting until for about a good 6 months.
So enjoy it while it lasts. Enjoy the offer while it lasts. So good to have you. So good to have you. We're talking how to stay motivated in the recovery process on the show today, and I am sure for people who are listening out there, you are in for another wonderful moment because Daryl is going to have the floor right now. Over to you, Daryl.
Thank you, KP. Once again, everybody, it's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm Deryl Glaze. I am a motivational coach and addiction recovery expert here in the States. I just want to say thank you for sharing your time with us today. And my hope and joy is that you will be able to get something out of this that will make a difference in your life for the rest of your life. So today we're going to be talking about how to maintain the recovery process. You know, everybody has a tendency once you have realized that it's time to go get help for the problem or the addiction you may be in. Once you've gotten that problem taken care of by going through treatment or meeting with a counselor or something like that. What happens is that we now begin to go through the process of getting our lives in order. But a lot of times, what happens is that in recovery, there's a lot of people who have a tendency to relapse. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in detail. But before I do that, I want to kind of introduce something to you that you may or may not be familiar with. And it's called the stages of change. The stages of change is something that is in the recovery world is a process that a recovery addict literally goes through in the actual stage or process of change. So, for example, we have literally there's pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and maintenance. Now, I'll cover each and every one of these with you here right now. Pre-contemplation. What is pre-contemplation? Well, pre-contemplation is you have an addiction problem. You know you may have an addiction problem, but you don't think it's a problem. Other people have pointed out to you that you have an addiction problem, but you don't care what they say because in your mind and in your heart, you believe it's not a problem. You believe you're maintaining okay, but everyone else sees the flaws that are happening in your life that may be costing you in the long run. That's pre-contemplation. Contemplation is when somebody who is in addiction realizes that there is a problem of some sort. They may not know how to fix it. Other people have also told them there was a problem, but because they don't know how to fix it, they just believe, oh, well, this is going to be my lot in life. This is the way things are going to be. So they do nothing about it. But then there's the area of preparation. Preparation is where we realize that we have a problem, that there is an addiction issue, there's a substance abuse issue in our lives. Other people even told us that there's a substance abuse issue in our lives. We begin to realize that there's a substance abuse issue in our lives. So we begin to look for opportunities to help get us the change that we need or get us the help that we need. So we begin to look at other options out there, whether it's treatment centers, whether it's counseling, whatever it may be. We're looking for those options as we continue on in this process. Then there's the action stage. The action stage is one where we have now made the decision. We've done the research, we've done the legwork, we've done our homework, and now we realize that we need to get all in. So we dive all in, we go to treatment, we go to meet with whoever we need to meet with, counselors, support system, whatever it is, and we start working toward getting free of our addiction. And we begin to take in all the different things that comes along with that in order to make those things happen. Maintenance is the other area. Maintenance is where we're at a place in our lives where we may have finished treatment, but now we've moved on into support groups like AA, NA, or maybe it's your church family, church group. You're meeting with a sponsor or a mentor, and you are operating in the things that you've learned while you're in treatment on a regular basis. This is what leads us into the stages of change. There are different times and seasons in our lives we'll begin to operate in these stages of change. But here's the key. There's one that I have missing on here that I've added myself. And that stage of change is called relapse. Now you say relapse? Yes, relapse. Because here's what happens. Most people, when they go through this process, because they don't work on anything else outside of their recovery, they get to a place where they just are bored, or they don't want to continue, or this whole thing is messing them up as far as about what else can they do. So it'll go right back into relapse. So for the recovering addict, the place that we want to be at is literally in the maintenance mode, because after maintenance comes relapse. But what you do in maintenance is what makes all the difference in the world. So we're going to talk about how do we maintain that maintenance as we maintain a life of recovery through the process of recovery. So maintenance is where we are and where we're operating. This is where most recovering addicts are. They're in the maintenance program. We talked about we're working on working on your 12 steps, or working on the tools that you got to be successful. But like I said before, they get into a place where they're tired, where they're bored, they get complacent. They start thinking that they have those negative thoughts begin to come in and start making them think that, you know what, maybe this is a short-term thing and I'm going to go back to where I came from. I'm going to go back into my addiction, okay? This is the reason why new statistics are showing that it really shows that a person has to go through a relapse period after finished treatment 7 times.
Wow.
7 times before they're able to get this thing right, before they're able to get to move into a place where addiction is no longer an issue in their life. But here's the question. What's the guarantee that they're going to be able to do it 7 times before they die? What's the guarantee that they're going to be able to be free if they go through this process 7 times?
Wow.
You have to realize that there's got to be a better way. The old systems and models that we have work, but what's happening is that people are relapsing at an alarming rate now. Once they finish, whether it's a short-term or year-long program, or inpatient or outpatient, they are relapsing at an alarming rate. So the question we have to ask ourselves is this, is that why are people going from relapse or going from recovery to relapse now more than ever? And what can we do in the process to stop this madness? Because that's what it is. There's got to be a better way. Now, I know most people know there are many paths to recovery. You probably heard that time and time again. But understand this. You have to have something in the process that's going to help you be successful. And it works a lot of ways for different people.
Okay.
But you have to have something in the process to help you get there. And we're going to talk about that in the second half here of the show. But I want to share something with you that you have to realize is that there are people around the globe that are gathering today that are tapping into something called Courageous Hope for Hurting People. CourageousHopeForHurtingPeople.com. If you tap into that, you will hear from recovery experts, thought leaders, and stress management issue leaders that will help you walk through processes like this as we talk. So just something to just keep in mind going forward.
Wow. That's massive, Daryl. I think we can't wait to have you now talk on the other side of the show on what to do to maintain, your maintenance, let me put it that way, to stay motivated in the recovery process. It's still the MHAASP show with KP on MZ Radio London and AP Radio UK, and we have Deryl Glaze in the building. We're talking about how to stay motivated in the recovery process, part of our series on addiction and recovery. We'll take a short break now. When we come after the break, the show continues. This is the song of my brother and friend Ophiels. This one is titled Anywhere. We'll be back after the break.
pariwo, mama pariwo. I let the world know you, mama like go because you can make me free. I'm free indeed. On solid rock, that's where I'm standing. If no beef for your word in my life, what would I've been saying right now? Now no more struggling, no more hustling, no more wrestling. The mentality, I can't live without you. Oh, hey. I can't do without you. Yeah, I cannot breathe without you, Lord. Oh, hey. I can't go without your word. Hey. Anywhere I go, 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 go. Please follow me, go. Please follow me, go. Anywhere I go, 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 go. Don't leave me alone. Anywhere I go, 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 go. Please follow me, go. For sure, no lyrics, no tune, no music. You're my inspiration, got the angel of my aspirations. I can sing loudly cause you back me up, and I daily
playing the music you love, playing the music you want. MC Radio London, station on the hill.
MZ Radio London station on the hill, AP Radio UK station with distinction. This is still the MHAASP show with KP, and we're reaching you live, like I said, on MZ Radio London and AP Radio UK. Good to have you join us from wherever you are listening to us all over the world. I still have Deryl Glaze in the building, and we're talking how to stay motivated in the recovery process. Deryl, welcome back.
Thank you, KP. Like we talked about right at the end there, we talked about how important it is to understand where you are if you're in recovery. Most addicts are in, most people who are in recovery are in the maintenance mode, where you're maintaining, you're doing the things you need to maintain in your life in order to make things work, to make things stay focused in your recovery. And that's important. But there's a part that I believe a lot of people miss, is that we focus mostly on the recovery process. And in that process, we have a tendency to forget something. It's called life. It's called life. And there's a life that you can begin to live and build while you're in the recovery process. Too many people think they just have to do that one thing, and if I do anything outside of that, it's too easy for me to fall off. Well, that's the stigma that we are attempting to break as we speak, is that you don't have to be in the recovery process for the rest of your life, but you do have to be in the process of building a life. Because as I said last week, when you're in the process of building a life and you have built a life worth living, the recovery process becomes a byproduct.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How do you make that leap? How do you get that to come to pass in your own life? Okay. First thing you have to ask yourself is, what do you want out of your life? Okay. What do you want out of your life? I like to pose this question usually, is that what is it that you were pursuing before or during the addiction process? What were you? So what are the dreams and passions and goals in your heart that you wanted, that you desired, that because of your addiction, it allowed you to get tripped up and get removed off the process? So the first thing you have to do is establish what is it that you want. You establish what are those goals and those dreams, because you can work on those things as you continue to work on your recovery. People think it's either one or the other, and it's not. It's both. Your brain is bigger than what you think it is.
That's word.
Most people that we've been told in our lives, I think it was Einstein who actually said that we actually use only 10% of our brain. There's so much more of our capacity what we can handle. Most people confuse and underestimate what they can do in a year, but overestimate what they can do in 10. You live us out on that process. So the first thing you have to do is understand what is it that you want out of your life. The second thing you have to realize is that why do you want it? What's the benefit of you having that very thing that you want to add to your life? What is going to look like for you? What are you going to become? Who's the person that you plan on becoming in the process as you pursue this? Because the key to every success in life is not in the getting to the goal. It's the person you become as you go toward the goal.
Wow, that was powerful.
And when you get that and understand, that's when things begin to change in your life. That's when you become to get breakthrough. Because by the time you hit the goal, the things you've learned along the way is something that no one can ever take. As someone once says, it becomes a mark that cannot be erased out of your life. The next thing is that you have to ask yourself is it who do I belong to? Who do I belong to? Now I know a lot of people out there. They think I have a higher power, and you have whatever that higher power is. And if you believe in your higher power, I will. That's you, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I make no bones about the fact that my higher power is Jesus Christ. He's the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And if you don't follow after him, I always say this: you better find a doggone good substitute. For me, I couldn't find one. He's the best in the business. So that's what it works for me. But you need to find that higher power, that benchmark, that anchor that's going to hold you in place after you continue to pursue your goals and your dreams, as you continue to walk through the process of recovery. I remember the story of a young man that actually I used to coach. When he got out of prison, all he wanted to do was be a heavy equipment operator. Okay. So what he would do is he had a cutout of a picture of a bulldozer up on his wall. And as he's in the recovery process, the only thing he was focused on as he's going through his recovery process was how to become that bulldozer operator. He went through an entire 1-year recovery process. And in that process, when he graduated, the first thing he did is he enrolled himself in construction school. He learned how to run that bulldozer. But after he got a job in construction, they wouldn't let him touch it because of the felonies, because of his record of being a criminal. But he didn't allow that to stop him. He just kept showing up to work every day, showing up, praying, believing God was going to open up a door of opportunity for him. Almost a year and a half later, he was certified as a bulldozer driver. The guy didn't show up to work one day, and the boss said, "Listen, I'm not supposed to do this, but can you really run that thing?" He said, "Yeah, I can run it." He jumped up in that bulldozer, and he began to do the work that was required. He began to do what was necessary. He was in the midst of that. He began to realize he was living his dream. He was doing exactly what he thought what he could do. And although he thought he would never get another opportunity, that would be his only shot. After that, that's all he ever did was run heavy equipment. Wow. The funny part of that story is that years later, outside of my office, there was some construction going on the highway. And guess who passed me in a bulldozer, honking his horn, waving?
Wow.
See, you got to understand something. You got to hold on to your dreams. You can't allow your addiction to keep you from what you've been called to do. There's a process that you have to go through. There's something that you have to step up to every single day and be a part of the process. You have to learn how to participate in your own success. Wow. Don't allow yourself to be stuck in your addiction or stuck in the recovery process. Now it's time to move on and be focused on what life and life more abundantly, what life has in store for you. When you begin to focus there, now what happens is that your recovery process becomes a byproduct and not the focus. It becomes part of your DNA and not the first thing that's in your face. It becomes part of who you are.
Wow.
Because of whose you are.
Wow. This is powerful. This is powerful, Deryl. I mean, every single word you've uttered here today is a big highlight. And for everybody who is listening, I mean, you will have the opportunity of listening to this over again. It will be made available on our YouTube page. So watch out for that. I mean, I'm just, my head is just running all over if I want to pick one highlight or the other. I mean, talk about you saying that it's not you getting to the goal that is really, I mean, the prime, but who you become, after getting to that goal. Making your recovery become a byproduct of the process. I mean, it's just a lot, Daryl. It's just a lot, Daryl. And you know what? For everybody out there, Daryl is still going to be here on the show next week. And watch out for the topic we're going to talk about. I'm sure you will definitely like to listen to that. You'll not want to miss that at all. Thank you so much, Daryl. Do you have anything you want to pass to people before we come?
Only thing I want to pass on is that KP is right. You do not want to miss next week, because if you know of family members, if you know mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, friends who have loved ones who are struggling in addiction, get that family member on this show, because next week I'm going to be talking about taking people from enablers to coach, helping your loved one through the journey of recovery.
Wow. You see why you cannot miss the next edition of the MHAASP show, because Daryl will still be in the building, and it will definitely be a mind-blowing, insightful, and amazing time with him on the show again. Thank you so much, Daryl. We owe you a lot. We cannot but keep saying thank you. And to everybody out there, we thank you also for listening. To my producers on MZ Radio London, Mr. Sergi Amoni, thank you. And Ophiels on AP Radio UK, thank you so much. To you out there, I want to say, without you, there's no us. And then tell people to join in listening to our programs. We'll see you